Luke Taylor.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd also like to associate myself with the remarks of the Deputy Prime Minister, who did well to capture the tragedy that we all experienced so many years ago. The tragedy of Grenfell Tower will forever remain in our collective memory. On the devastating night of June the 14th, 2017, 72 lives were lost and many more impacted forever. The events of that night left a deep wound on London's history, physically and mentally. I take the opportunity to extend my deepest sympathies to their victims, the families, and all of those affected. The fire changed their lives in unimaginable ways. 7 years on, justice for the victims is painfully overdue. Yet today, thousands in the UK still live in buildings wrapped in dangerous, flammable cladding. Of the nearly 5,000 buildings identified as having dangerous cladding, less than half have work begun, and only a third have completed it. This means that there are between 4,000 and 7,000 buildings still unidentified, highlighting the absolute failure of the last government to get a grip on this crisis. This failure leaves an alarming number of buildings and residents still at risk. Just days before the publication of the final report in August, a fire broke out at a tower block in Dagenham. Thankfully, there were no fatalities, but over 200 firefighters battled flames that spread rapidly due to non-compliant cladding. These unsafe buildings are ticking time bombs. Residents in London live in constant fear of another disaster. Across London, including in my constituency of Sutton-on-Cheam, tower blocks still possess non-compliant cladding, which could pose serious risks to residents. The previous government mandated that local authorities must make these buildings safe. However, crucially, they provided no funding to support this at a time when local authorities were already facing severe underfunding. As a result, millions of pounds were added to council housing revenue accounts as an unplanned financial burden. Worse, government assistance through various schemes was exclusively directed towards leaseholders, leaving local authorities and tenants without support. While I welcome this new government's commitment to the replacement of all flammable cladding by 2029, urgency is of the utmost importance. It is essential that all dangerous cladding is removed as soon as possible, and that leaseholders should not be required to pay a penny towards these necessary safety improvements. This work is happening due to the failure of builders, product manufacturers and regulators to ensure that the buildings that residents lived in were safe. The report is utterly damning in the failures of the industry and criminal negligence as a result of the hidden safety tests that were failed and contrivance for profiteering instead of resident safety. We must all work to ensure that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. Another Grenfell must never happen. This tragedy will always serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequence of neglecting safety and justice for local authority residents. Justice for the victims of Grenfell means a commitment to immediate action to implement the 58 recommendations of the Phase 2 report, not just for them, but for every community still at risk.